Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, it's Wednesday night, Gridiron Grinder time nonetheless. We're hitting it early this week. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 93 for us. We're getting closer and closer to that 100th episode, James. And so for tonight, we're going to start things off with Name That Stadium like we always do. Then we're going to kind of hit the highlights from the news from this past week, which is really just a short week for us. After that, we're going to do a 2022 NFL mock draft for round one, and then we'll close things off with our question of the week. So, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
Good, man. I'm excited. This is like, when we did this last year, it was one of my favorite shows doing the mock draft, so I'm pumped, man.
Yeah, I've been preparing.
Oh, I know. Hey,
I
you got to jump on it well before I did. You were like dropping hints weeks and weeks ago.
yeah, I didn't actually last year I did like I went through and did like every pick for like the first 2 rounds or 3 rounds, how I thought they were gonna go. This year I didn't do that. I kind of figured we'd go since we're going back and forth, I'd let it flow and just point out where I thought I disagreed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it gives it a little bit more of a realistic aspect when we rotate picks, and then maybe I've got a guy or a position with a higher priority or with a different kind of strategy in mind, and then it could derail maybe something that you had going on, and it gives it just that realistic sort of element that real GMs got to deal with in the draft when it's going, and yeah, it'll be cool. All
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
Well, yeah, let's shift it over. Let's do Name That Stadium. And so this is the part of the show for anybody who's watching. If you're listening, obviously you can't see this, but if you're watching, you can see James is out there traveling the country, and every week he's got a different stadium in his background. If you think you know what stadium that is, hit us up in our comments section, and the first person to get the answer correct will get a special shout out in next week's show. And so, James, why don't you tell us where were you at last week, man?
Last week I was in Indy last week. I'm so pumped with how Indy's offseason's been going. I mean, trading for Matt Ryan, signing Stephon Gilmore, like they're definitely becoming the best team in that division. So I chose, was it Lucas Oil Stadium? I almost called it the basketball place, like Bankers Fieldhouse or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, Lucas Oil Stadium.
Nice. Yeah, no, I liked the Stephon Gilmore signing myself. And, we talked about Matt Ryan already quite a bit that I think he'll be good with Frank Reich. I was actually really hopeful for Carson Wentz. And statistically, Wentz actually had a really good year when you consider some of the adversity that he had to go through with the shortened offseason and the tough slate of games off the bat with a lot of guys injured, especially on that offensive line. But the problem was just at the end of the year when they kind of controlled their own destiny, they flickered out. And so that was,
Kind of controlled their own destiny. They fucking controlled all their fucking destiny. They win at Jacksonville. They make the fucking playoffs.
yeah,
They're
I guess
they're
it's as
they were
simple as
what
that. But,
they were what a
but they
16
could have
point
won some
favorite
other
and they
games
lost by
too
two
towards the end.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It was because of Carson Wentz they didn't make the playoffs. But that's neither
Oh,
here nor
man.
there.
Yeah, yeah. You're very passionate tonight. I like it. I can tell we're going to have a good show. Uh, all right. So, yeah, that was Name That Stadium. Let's kick it over to the news of this past week. And so, James, the big thing which just kind of came up is the Debo Samuel situation out in San Francisco. It sounds like he's demanding a trade. From what I have read, some of this has to do with the way they use him as sort of a hybrid wide receiver and running back, and him wanting a contract that is all wide receiver, not any running back, because that's where he would get the most money. And I don't know if the team's been telling him that that's not how they're doing it or what's going on, but apparently something happened that just like miffed him. And so he's saying he wants out.
So, it was really odd to hear that it was how they were using him was his beef because of the fact that, like, earlier this week I heard an interview with him when he was talking about how he liked using the versatility, the team using his versatility, and the more touches he gets, the better he is with it. So I read that it was with the usage, and I was like, what the fuck? And I also had thought, like, earlier in the week I had heard that they were close on a deal, and Debo said, nope, I just don't want to sign with you guys.
Yeah, it's strange, and we're going to find out a whole heck of a lot more about what happened as it continues to unfold. But of course, everybody's already starting to speculate what teams are going to try and go after him, what the 49ers might get. How does this change things for kind of everybody involved? And it's definitely a tricky situation, man. I wasn't expecting it. And I don't want to be like negative on Debo, but I do sometimes wonder. It seems like when these guys demand these trades and they sort of have these little freakouts, it's like more times than not, it's wide receivers, man. And so, I don't know, but we've seen it. Baker Mayfield just did it with the Browns, and yeah, I don't want to just like call out wide receivers, but man, I don't know. It's there's probably legit stuff going on. I guess I'm just saying it. So yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like, everything I was reading, everything I remember from last year, like he had, like, made a comment that it was out of his hands if he stayed with the 49ers and stuff like that. Like, like, he indicated he wanted to come back, and then all of a sudden he wants to trade. I just like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it's, because he was in that hybrid role, it does make me wonder what his prospects are. I think he'll have plenty of suitors that are going to try and get him, or at least explore it, whether they can come up with a decent deal or not. But, it's the production. Can they match that kind of production if he moves solely into a wide receiver role? Or is he going to go play gadget guy somewhere else? I don't know. Like, some of that just makes me wonder. And I guess it's like if he goes to a team and he's like a beefed up version of Cordero Patterson, it's like, well, why'd you even leave then? Because it was working in San Francisco. Like, what? I guess,
Yeah,
yeah, these are things that we won't know for potentially a year down the road. So it just a lot of questions, a lot of questions.
yeah, a lot of questions.
Okay, so in other news, I don't have like a ton of big things to hit on. Some of them are kind of like, there's news, but without like concrete news, like the Cooper Cup thing. He's been making comments about wanting, a deal that's good for both sides and not necessarily trying to reset the wide receiver market, even though he probably could. And so that's cool, but like there's no new contract, no new nothing like that. It's just that, you know, we're hearing his opinion apparently in the mix, which is nice. But until they got a deal, it's just fluff. So not hard news there. Um, Jarvis Landry visiting with the
You kind
Saints.
of glossed over what Cooper Cup said a little bit.
Okay, hit it up, man.
He said it's not his approach. There's a place that you feel there's a place you want to be. There's a place you feel is fair. And then he went into that. He's not trying to beat anybody. I'm not trying to compare myself to anyone else. It's more about being in a place
Oh.
that's just right for both sides.
Okay, so do you think he's saying that it would be fair for him to reset the wide receiver market?
I think I don't think he's while some of these wide receivers, like, that sign these contracts are definitely not worth it. I think he's one of those that could be worth it, but I mean the Rams they're so screwed come 3 years from now on their salary cap. So screwed.
Well, we thought that with the Saints this year, and they found a way to figure it out, right?
Yeah. And plus it's just I think he just wants to be in LA, and he wants like top 5, top 10 wide receiver money, and he wants to play for the Rams. That's
Yeah,
the way I took
he'll
his
get that. He'll get top five for sure.
yeah, that's the way I took his comments.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I guess that's what I mean is that he's not going to be, the way I interpreted everything was that he's not looking to be the top dog and potentially hurt the team. He wants to get paid very well, but it's not like he's going to. I don't know. The way I took it was, it's not like he's going to hold out unless he gets the highest contract for his position.
Yeah.
All right. In other news, I saw a thing about Saquon Barkley. He's this guy, massive freaking potential coming out of Penn State, super high draft pick, and it just seems like every year the dude gets injured. And so he's, saying that he's, wanting to go out there and prove himself this year. Um, and the Giants, they've got a new regime. They've got really no reason to commit to him outside of this season. And so, it is on him. He's going to have to make something happen in this season if he wants to have basically another payday in the NFL.
Well, let's be fair. The Giants don't want Saquon anymore. I mean, they were trying to trade him, and nobody wanted to even give him a 6th round pick for him.
Yeah.
Like seriously, nobody in the league wants Saquon. The Giants don't even want him. He's not going to get a payday in the NFL unless he has unless he rushes for 5,000 yards this season and stays healthy for the entire season.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing is that I got that weird feeling in my gut that this is going to be the year we see Saquon Barkley go off because he's in a contract year. And it seems like more times than not, that's when guys put it all out on the field, which they should, but they should be doing it all the time because they should always be trying to prove their worth and get something more. And you can't predict injuries, and so I don't want to speculate that maybe he could have been playing and was milking something or whatever else. It just I want to see that potential become a reality on the field, man. That's all I'm getting at. And but yeah, it's tough. He's had a rough run for all that talent, man. It just hasn't come together for him.
Mm-hmm. And of course, this is why Dave Gettleman, which probably the entire time we've been doing these shows, I've been saying Dave Gettleman needed to be fired. This is one of the reasons why Dave Gettleman needed to be fired, because when he drafted Saquon, he said something along the lines of my mom or my grandma could see that Saquon was the right pick there. Obviously, he wasn't the right pick because he hasn't done shit.
Yeah. But could you say he would have been if he never got hurt? I don't even know if you could say that because they've had such a shitty offensive line. Even if he stayed healthy, they wouldn't have been giving him much room to succeed anyhow.
Well, the thing of it is, I want to look it up real quick because I want to say when he was drafted, there was a clear cut. Let me take a look at it. Yeah, 2018. So let me see. Saquon Barkley was drafted at 2. After Saquon Barkley was drafted, obviously the only person drafted ahead of him. Okay, Sam Darnold. Obviously he was a bust, but you had Bradley Chubb in there, Quentin Nelson, Josh Allen,
Oh, Quentin Nelson.
Smith, Minka Fitzpatrick. I mean,
Yeah.
all these players were players that the Giants could have used instead of Saquon Barkley. I mean, imagine if the Giants drafted Josh Allen instead of Saquon. And then you had at 17 you had Derwin James, Tremont Edmonds, Marcus Davenport. I mean,
yeah, they could have gotten a lot of bang for their buck if they went in a different direction.
exactly.
But you're doing the hindsight's 2020 thing.
I'm doing the yeah, but Josh Allen, that was my first guess on it, that he was going to be a good player. And I mean, Denzel Ward, Bradley Chubb, that was an obvious one. It's just
Quentin Nelson, that would have changed everything for the Giants.
Yeah.
He's a freaking all-pro every day, man.
Exactly, and that's one of the Giants' needs. You just said if they had a better offensive line,
Yep.
why did they draft Saquon Barkley over Quentin Nelson?
Yeah, they got it backwards, but we know that is that hey, get the offensive line first, and then you can plug and play a running back, and
Yeah,
you can take an average guy and make him great if you got the right offensive line.
but the real issue was that Gettleman didn't know how to fucking draft.
Yeah, he saw something shiny and was like, I want that. It'd be
The
fun.
the next round at 6, they picked Daniel Jones when they clearly didn't have the offensive line for him. I mean, you could have picked, let me see, offensive line. It was kind of light on offensive line that year, but still, Daniel Jones at 6, and then they came back with Daniel Jones didn't have a that high of a first round grade on him. Nobody would have picked Daniel Jones before
You're right. You're right.
the
They
Giants picked
reached.
17.
Everybody
And
was
then
in
at
off.
17 they picked Dexter Lawrence. Does anyone remember who the hell Dexter Lawrence even is?
Oh man. Um, was he
That's
a
my point.
defensive lineman?
He was a defensive lineman.
All
Is he
right.
still in the league? That's a good question.
All right. Well, hey, yeah. So that, and honestly, James, we could talk about this as much as you want because that was the last thing of the news that I really had for this week. So it was light. Like I said, there's probably something I missed, but it seemed like a lot of fluff things, not a whole lot of like tangible, concrete, this happened kind of stuff this past week.
So one of the things I had was a little bit. If we it's kind of come out why Dwayne Haskins was walking on the side of the freeway.
Okay.
Apparently his wife called 911 because so he called her and told her that he ran out of gas and he was walking to a gas station and he would call her when he got back to his car.
Okay.
So he was trying to walk to a gas station to get gas for his car or whatever, and he kind of veered into the lanes a little bit, and he apparently was hit more than once.
Oh man.
At least 2 vehicles hit him, possibly a third. But I mean, which that's not the point. But it was at least that kind of makes sense why he was walking on the freeway.
Yeah, he ran out of gas, so yeah, that would
Yeah,
help
but
fill in a big piece of the puzzle.
exactly.
Jeez, man. Well, I mean, I would rather hear something like that than, oh, he was high out of his mind or something ridiculous.
Hmm.
It's still a very sad ending. But you hope that there's not any kind of like bad stuff going on with it too. So,
Yeah, yeah. From what I'm reading, it was 100% that and it was because his wife had called 911 after the incident occurred, and the dispatcher told her that there was a accident that was called in the area that she said Dwayne was in, or Haskins was in at the time, but couldn't confirm or didn't know what was the situation with that accident. And it turns out that it was him being hit by a car
okay.
or a dump truck, sorry, or whatever hit him. But I mean, it's really unfortunate, really
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
But at least it appears that it wasn't like he was stoned out of his mind and didn't know where he was.
Yeah, something messed up like that. I gotcha.
And
Oh,
then the other piece I had was Tannehill not showing up for camp. Did we touch on that?
oh no, no. Yeah, so tell me what happened there.
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck happened. For some reason, Ryan Tannehill didn't show up for the voluntary workouts, and like, so Stafford, who you could see him not showing up, showed up for the voluntary workouts for the Rams, but Tannehill didn't. You have Stafford, who's top tier quarterback. You have Tannehill, who needs some work. Yeah, he has flashes, but he needs the work, and he doesn't show up. Show up for training camp or off season, whatever it is, OTAs. Yeah, it's voluntary, but like Stafford said, the reason why he showed up was to set the tone for the team. The
Yep.
quarterback sets the tone for the team,
Yep.
and if the quarterback is not willing to do it, yeah, okay, Rodgers not showing up, Brady not showing up, yeah, that's one thing. I mean, those are two ultimately going to be two all-time. One of them's an all-time great now. One of them, when he has a little bit of work to do, will be an all-time great too. So them not showing up is one thing, but for Tannehill, who needs the work, who's kind of middle of the road quarterback, he needs to show up to all this stuff to kind of get the team together.
Yeah, the way that their season ended, you would think he'd be doing anything and everything to show, hey, I'm the leader. I want us to be better. I want myself to be better. I want to show you guys that. And so I don't know. Maybe we'll find out that there's more going on in the background. But yeah, I know that you get a lot of these veterans that they skip out on the voluntary stuff, and sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. Like I saw the Jimmy Garoppolo stuff. They were saying, well, okay, hey, he's not only is he likely to be traded, but he's recovering from surgery, and he's got his own team of people helping him with that, and I guess like they coordinated with the team and they said, "Oh, yep, your guys are probably better to be doing this with you than our guys," and so it all made sense. And so it was like, yeah, he's not there, but for the right reasons. But yeah, it's like with Tannehill, it's like, well, why aren't you there, man? Everybody's going to want to know now.
Yeah. And the other thing was something kind of funny. Um, Apparently, um, Brady and Rodgers are having a golf exhibition against Allen and Mahomes.
Okay.
And Brady posted a picture on social media and of his kid with a Bills helmet on and said something like an artist rendering of me watching Josh Allen approach after laying up on a par four. And there's this kid with like the club over his head or something like that.
Oh, jeez.
I just thought it was a
He's
little
he's
funny.
yeah, he's having some fun. Good for him.
Yeah,
Keep it light.
yeah. But I thought it. I always kind of had some sad stuff. Got to end on a light note.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, bring it up a notch. All right, cool. Well, yeah, let's move it on, man, and let's do our mock draft. So we're going to do round one tonight, and then next week on Wednesday, we're going to do round two, and then obviously next Thursday starts the draft. So the following week, we'll get to do sort of our recap and analysis of the entire draft. But I think this is a good way to do it. It gives us, a lot of emphasis on the first two rounds, which is really where a lot of it matters. You can find diamonds in the rough anywhere in the draft if you look right and get lucky or whatever. But we're gonna do these first two rounds, and yeah, man, it should be fun. So you were saying last year we flipped a coin to figure out who would go one, and so we had talked about for this year we'll do the same thing. And because there's certain teams like Detroit and I think you were saying the Giants. Uh,
Detroit, the Giants, and Green Bay all
they
have.
either even or odd number picks for both. And
Yeah,
so if one of us makes the first one, we're just going to defer to let the other person make the second one. And I like that. That way we each get a chance on these teams with multiple picks, especially the Lions. If you get them early, I want to have them late or something like that. Um, but yeah, that's cool. So I'll get out my app here. Let's see, it's been a while since I used this, the good old free coin flip app. So can you see this, James?
eh,
Sort of, maybe.
sort of.
All right, so right now, let's just flip it so we can see. So that's the Statue of Liberty, that's tails. And then George Washington is heads, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, George Washington's heads. So I will let you do the honors. I'm going to hit it and you call it in the air. Are you ready?
Ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Tails.
You got it. So, you get to kick it off at number 1. Unless you want to take that and say, you won, you get to decide. I guess we didn't establish that. So, I'll let you do it either way because you won. It's like
I
winning the coin toss. You can decide. Do you want to kick or receive?
I think I'll kick it off at number 1.
Okay. So just to be clear, you're going to let me pick one. Because you're kicking off? You're kicking to me?
No, no,
So I'm
no.
getting the
I'm
ball?
gonna start. I'm gonna start off with number one.
Oh, you're kicking it off as in okay. See, I thought, I'm receiving the ball, so I'm making the pick. No, you're leading off here. That's fine. All right, so yeah, James, first pick, Jacksonville Jaguars. And so, over the last couple of weeks, we've looked a lot at the team needs. I'm coming up with, my order here. And, some of this you can reprioritize whatever way you see fit or, do whatever you think is right here. But, I think they need a center, a wide receiver one. They need help at defensive end, outside linebacker, and safety. And, obviously at number 1 overall, they've got their pick of the litter. What are you thinking here, man?
So, I've been reading a lot on Jacksonville, and I started my analysis like a month ago
Hmm.
for the draft, and everything I'm reading, like I'm seeing a lot that Jacksonville is going to go offensive tackle in the draft first pick
No
over.
shit.
I'm seeing a lot about that. I'm seeing so much about it. I'm not buying it.
I mean, Doug Peterson had like 6 starting caliber offensive linemen at any given time in Philadelphia. And so I know he's made comments about you can never have enough depth on the offensive line. And when I was looking at it, I was tempted to say, man, would you put one of them there? Because there's some freaking top shelf offensive linemen ready to go. And, typically when you look at one of these top picks, you're thinking you're either taking your quarterback of the future, but they've already got him. You're then probably going to protect him, but their offensive line's, I think, doing a pretty good job. And then it's you want to go after the quarterback if you got 1 and 2. And so it's like, man, with exception to the quarterback, they could really go a lot of ways, man.
Yeah. So what I'm kind of ultimately settling on for Jacksonville is they're going to go defense on in the first round. They had a heavy offensive draft last year. They've been heavy on signing offensive players, and the player they're going to go with, it's a little bit down the board from the rankings you put together, but
Okay.
I think this person could possibly be the best defensive player in the draft.
Ooh, I like that. Who isn't?
I think he could be the defensive end version of Aaron Donald,
Okay.
and that is Jermaine Johnson, the defensive end who can also play outside linebacker from Florida State.
All right, let me mark him off my board here. So yeah, and listen. So just to clarify, my list of prospects that I gave you was actually the top 100 from the ESPN.com or the top 125 of the ESPN.com best available, which I believe was the Scouts Inc. list. Is how they used to do it. I don't know if it's still Scouts Inc. or whatever else, but I went with that instead of trying to do my own because that would obviously add a whole level of time. But um, I like it, man. I've read a lot about him, having that relentless motor and that outstanding closing speed. Um, and, I have heard a lot of varying opinions on the edge rushers in this class. It seemed like earlier on, a lot of people thought Aiden Hutchinson was the clear cut number 1. And then Kayvon Thibodeau was the 2. And now a lot of people are saying, oh man, I don't know, Trayvon Walker's climbing the board. And they're starting to poke some holes in the other guys, and I think that would be a shocker right off the bat from the way that people have been talking about the draft. But I'm down with that, man. I mean, hey, that's your pick.
The thing with Jermaine Johnson is at Florida State, he played 61 snaps a game, gave relentless effort every game, even though Florida State wasn't playing for jack shit
That's true.
the season. And that's going to be similar to what's going to be in Jacksonville. So you have the high character, effort from what I'm seeing. He's he's a competitor, and that's what you need in Jacksonville, because the first season, 2 seasons, it's gonna be rough for Jacksonville. And like you pick Aiden Hutchinson, who's from Michigan, who's had only winning seasons at Michigan. Your Trayvon Walker, who only winning seasons at Georgia, or Thibodeau, who's had winning seasons at Oregon. You don't know how that player is going to react to a losing season. You've already seen how Jermaine Johnson reacted to a losing season by giving it his all every day.
Okay. Damn. Now I got the wheels turning for two with Detroit. I like the pick. Are you good? Are we ready to go to two? I'm on the clock.
Yep.
All right, James. So at two with the Lions, I'll be honest, I was kind of hoping you would get you would get two, so I could take Jacksonville at one. But um, basically, everything I've been hearing for a while now is that the Lions are hoping Hutchinson lands in their lap at two, that they want him very, very badly. Um, I don't know that I'm as sold on that as other people might be. Um, and I'm not taking anything away from him. Hutchinson, like the note from ESPN.com was he's considered special, but not elite, technically sound, with good size, and he's got the highest grade in the draft class with a 94. And so I don't think you go wrong with him. I would say, if me personally was picking at this spot, it might seem a little aggressive at two, but I would probably go Jordan Davis, the defensive end out of Georgia, because I think he's a game changer. And especially if the Lions are going to start moving more into that 3-4, which I'm hearing maybe going on, you would want that guy right in the middle. You could put Onzawerke and McNeil is sort of like your rotating ends, big beefy guys. It would transform that defensive line and give them a lot of options. But I don't think they do that. I think at two, I think Hutchinson would be the pick if he fell to them, and so I'm going to put him in here.
So the Lions kind of have a pivotal pick in this draft, because depending on what way the Lions go with their picks, if they go where I really think they're going to go, which is Malik Willis, if they go that way, then you could see 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. If they don't go with Malik Willis, they go with Hutchinson, or they go with one of these other defensive players, or maybe even I wouldn't do a wide receiver, inside linebacker.
It's
or
tough.
maybe like an inside linebacker there, like
Two is so high for an inside linebacker.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
like
Like
honestly, I know what you're going at, James, and I was tempted to say, hey, take Garrett Wilson and get your wide receiver one. And then you got him, Shark, and St. Brown. Your offense is basically complete at that point. You could pretty much go all defense from there. But I don't know that Garrett Wilson is a lock to be a wide receiver one in the NFL. He's, a little smaller in
yes.
stature. And, I know that doesn't matter. Devonta Smith had a great year last year. But um, Malik Willis is tempting. All I would say is if they're going to do it, you just got to keep in mind you got Goff, so there's no rush to get him.
Hmm.
And up until like 3-4 weeks ago, nobody was saying any of these quarterbacks were worth a high draft pick. And so I know that as you get closer to the draft, they run up the board because people are like, you got to get your quarterback the future, this, that. All I'm saying is if they were going to take him at 2, just, don't be afraid to swing again next year if he doesn't look like he's going to be the guy because some teams would make that pick and they would stick to him to the end. I liked what Arizona did a few years ago where they had Josh Rosen, realized his rookie year was a bust. They went out and got Kyler Murray the next year. It's like, don't be afraid to go for a second bite at the apple if the first one doesn't taste good. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, and I know that, but the thing with it is for the quarterback position, if you're with how these salaries are trending
Hmm.
and the quarterback position, at wide receiver position too, you got to draft your quarterback. That if you think the guy has, you got to take your swing for a franchise quarterback in the first round because you'll have 5 years or a potential 5 years for that player, as opposed to if you take him in the second round, it's 4 years, then you have to pay him.
Yep.
So it's better to swing and miss on a quarterback in the first round than it is to take a quarterback and hit on a quarterback in the second round.
Oh, I
Um,
hear you. I think, with me making the pick on behalf of the Lions, I think I would say nope. They're going to give Goff that chance, and they're going to continue beefing up the defensive line because they were horrible at getting pressure on the quarterback last year. And realistically, they stayed into a lot of games. If the defense can get better, it could change things. Maybe it pivots it the other way for them this year. And they're still thinking long term. So I'm going Hutchinson, but yeah, I like your arguments. So that puts you on the clock at 3, James, with the Houston Texans.
all right, so for the Houston Texans, I look at their needs, and what sticks out to me for their needs is definitely, I think they need to go offensive line on it. I don't think the defensive. You just said it. Inside linebackers. This is too high for an inside linebacker. It's too high for these receivers in this draft because there's so much unknown. I think the best receiver in the draft is actually going to be drafted after some of these other guys but when I look at it, offensive tackle, you need, and you and I have talked about this many times, you need to shore up your trenches before you get to properly build the team. And so when you look at the offensive tackles available, you have two. You have Evan Neal and Iquanu.
Oh yeah, I'll let you take that name all day.
Well, see, that's what's going to happen is I'm going to leave that name to you
Oh, you son of a bitch.
because I think Evan Neal is the better offensive tackle.
Okay.
I think he's just
And he's freaking
slightly,
massive, man.
just slightly ahead of Ekwanu. Um, he bull rushers don't give ground against him. He's massive, but he's massive and he's dominant.
Yeah, that's like one of the notes that I saw was that it's just he's a dominant run blocker. And I did see that they're saying maybe he's lacking some of that elite mirroring ability, but it doesn't mean that he's bad at mirroring. It just means maybe that's one part of his game where he's not at the elite level. The guy's got a 93 grade. I mean, pretty rock solid all around is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and like if you like read up on him, he's 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 just he's first step he has first step quickness. He takes great angles according to the articles I was looking at him on. He's heavy hands. He's physical. He possesses stuff that most college offensive linemen don't possess. He's this quote here. He's a dominant run blocker.
Yep.
He's a dominant run blocker. And at Houston, because you have Davis Mills at quarterback, I think you're going to be heavily dependent on the run game. And
It
he
would
can
take the
play,
pressure off of him, that's for sure.
yeah, and he can, and Evan Neal can play either side, no problem.
Yeah, and I think they'd be bringing him in expecting he'll be a left tackle wherever
Yeah.
he goes. But yeah, no, that's a good point. He does have some versatility. Yeah, no, hey man, I like that pick. I think it makes sense. I mean, we talked about it earlier. You're either getting your quarterback, you're protecting your quarterback, or you're going after the quarterback. When you're picking this high up in the draft, it's almost always one of those three. And if
Mm.
you've got those covered, then you can go wherever you want. Okay, so you good on that? Ready for me to take four with the Jets?
Yep.
Okay, at number four, I'm showing the New York Jets have the following needs, James: defensive end, wide receiver, inside linebacker, cornerback, outside linebacker. As you know, last year, new regime, Robert Saleh and company, they went and they drafted Zach Wilson high in the first round. They got their quarterback, so they don't need him. They've got Mekhi Becton. They also drafted Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC, and they've got some other pieces on that offensive line. I think they're okay there. I know that there's been some talk about Mekhi Becton and what's happening with him. I think that's not a pressing need for the Jets. I think it's time for them to focus on the defense. Give Robert Saleh some guys to play around with. We know he got it done with the 49ers as their defensive coordinator. The Jets got to have some pieces for him to actually utilize. When I'm looking at that, James, you know, it's you can go in a lot of different directions. I would love to see him get an inside linebacker and get his what's the guy from the 49ers, the linebacker? I'm drawing a blank on his name. Basically, get his version of his captain for that defense,
Yeah.
Fred Clark or
Yeah. No.
no, Fred Warner. I don't know
Yeah,
why I'm
Warner.
all of a sudden I'm blanking out here. Get your quarterback that defense, but I I still feel like, oh man, is it too soon to get that guy? And would you go defensive end because we talk those priorities: protect the quarterback. I mean, get the quarterback, protect the quarterback, or go after the quarterback. I think when you look at the board, you still have a couple of these top defensive ends that are graded out higher than these inside linebackers. You got Trayvon Walker or you got Kayvon Thibodeau. Um, if I was picking, and I'll try to do this for a lot of my picks, me versus what I think they'll do. If I was picking, I would probably go Thibodeau because I think he's got the highest ceiling of the defensive ends in this class. But there's a lot of weird talk about his commitment to football and some things to me that I think are a little bit BS, and people are just kind of blowing him out of the water. Either way, I think the Jets go Trayvon Walker, defensive end from Georgia. He's got great size. He's got great strength. He's explosive. Uh, my personal concern is how come the production didn't match all of the talent? Is it just because that defense was so damn good he didn't have enough to get on his own because so many other guys were getting in on the action? I don't know, but he's been flying up boards lately, and I think that the Jets would love to get him, add him to that defensive line. It's like getting a Bosa in San Francisco. You need a guy to start getting after that quarterback, man.
Makes sense. I think I have Walker slightly rated higher than Thibodeau as it is, so I could see that. I think you're right on there with Trayvon Walker.
Okay. Oh, hey, no argument there. I like that. All right, so James, that brings us back to you at number five with the New York Giants, man. Go with your Aquanu, however you say his name. Come on, man.
Nope.
Oh, you really are going to throw him to me, aren't you? Uh,
So when I look at it, I think Aquanu. And you look at the teams that there's the Giants have the number 5 and the number 7 pick this year, and we know we know where Carolina's going with their pick.
I was just thinking that, man.
So honestly, my personal opinion, I think the Giants are going to either trade the number 5 or the number 7 pick this year.
Okay.
Trade down those picks, or even trade. Say they trade down from the 7 slot, and they get a second pick next year, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, while I really, really, really would love to take Iquanu off the board for you, I really would. I'm not an asshole like that.
You're not an asshole like that. Oh man.
But I think this player is going to be a special player, a special receiver in the NFL.
Okay.
I think he could step in, and I really want to do it. And
Well, I mean, they've talked about how they've done almost everything possible to mess up Daniel Jones. And
yeah,
so, would they throw him a bone? I'm sure they would, man, because this is like the
he's
last chance to see if he can really get it done.
so he's listed as top end speed. He's equally effective out wide and in the slot. He's former basketball player. He excels at contested catches, and he's able to contort his body while adjusting to the ball in the air. It's his unique trait.
Okay.
An elite red zone weapon.
Ooh,
Um,
I think I might know who you're talking about, but
and I think he's possibly, if not the best receiver in the draft, he's top 2. And you can't go wrong with who I have at 1 and 2 as
okay.
receivers in the draft. Um, and that would be Drake London from USC.
All right, Drake London. Let me cross him off my board here, James. And so, yeah, so ESPN's got him with a 92 rating. Yep, big elite red zone target. His one knock is he's lacking a little bit of that high end speed. I mean, there were guys putting him at number 2 to the Lions. And so, there's people getting really, really hyped up on Drake London, man. And the Giants, they have that need for sure. They're lacking a wide receiver one. They swung on Kenny Galladay last year, and it wasn't a great year. They got a couple other guys that are decent, Slayton and whatnot, but it just I think I could see them doing that. Give Daniel Jones that guy, and it's kind of like, hey man, we're doing everything we can now to show that you could do something for us, and if you can't make it happen, then it's kind of like they don't have to feel bad about moving on. If that makes sense. It really makes no
Yes,
sense, but if it made sense.
it made a little bit of sense.
All right, good to know. Okay, so I knocked him off my board here. And yeah, that takes us to the Carolina Panthers at 6. Um, yeah, I would say James, I would have gone Aquanu at 5 because I do believe that's the Giants' top need. But I liked your logic is that Carolina, I think it's a slam dunk they're taking a quarterback, which means Aquanu would fall to them at 7. And so based on the way we talked about it, rotating these picks, I'll get 6 and 7 here. And so I'll let it fall into place, man. I'm going to go Kenny Pickett for the Carolina Panthers. You covered this a couple weeks ago. He is the most pro-ready guy in this class. Carolina needs to win now, or this whole regime is going to be out. I've watched a lot of the tape on Pickett, man. I like his quick decision making. I like how he gets through all of his progressions. Oftentimes you see these quarterbacks, they can really only look at their top 1 or 2 guys, and then it's like things fall apart for him. Pickett's been able to like scan the whole field and make good decisions. He's been able to run the ball when he needs to. Really the only knock is that he's got the smaller hands, man, and they're saying that his
I don't
hand
give a
size.
shit about his hand size.
No, and I'm not necessarily saying you should or not. I'm just reporting some facts. They're saying that he would have the smallest hands of any starting quarterback and of most of the notable backups in the NFL, which some people are worried about because there is a higher correlation with fumbles with these quarterbacks with smaller hands. But James, I believe you also pointed out a little while back that Joe Burrow is on the smaller side of the scale with his hand size and seems to be working out pretty well for him. Um, I like Kenny Pickett, man. The more I see, the more I watch, the more I get excited about what this guy can do. The only other knock I've heard is that maybe he doesn't have that elite arm strength, but I do read a lot that he can push the ball down the field just fine. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. So, all right, I got Kenny Pickett there. Let me just cross him off real quick. And going to the Giants at 7. James, we already covered it. I mean, I think it just fell in their lap that they got Aquanu from NC State. He's an aggressive run blocker, solid pass blocker. He is tied with the top grade for an offensive tackle with Evan Neal. Um, it just makes sense. They've had a piss poor offensive line for a long time. If you're going to give Daniel Jones the wide receiver, you better protect him so he's got time to get the guy the ball. And then, hey, we were just talking about Saquon earlier. If you want to finally get out there and prove it, this is going to help you, buddy. It's like you're kind of disarming these guys. Where if this year doesn't work, you're saying, look, man, we did everything we could do to set you guys up for success. And if you didn't get it done, we're moving on. No big deal. So I like Aquanu there at number 7.
Yeah, my only knock on Iquanu from what I've seen and what I'm reading is he tends to be out of control a little bit, which I mean that's coachable, and he tends to take too wide of angles when he's in pass pro. But I mean
Okay.
those are just coach that you can coach him out of that.
Hopefully. Some guys, man, they don't respond well to coaching, but you would think that a guy like him, highly rated, all these skills, should be fine.
Yeah, and then you also have number 8.
All right. Oh man, are we doing 3 in a row, or do you want to
Well,
go?
then I have the next 3.
All right. So
Because
now,
because
so I'll
then
take
not
8. I'll
because
take
the
8.
Jets are at 10 and you had the Jets at 4.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Okay. So yeah, it's just a little funky the way the board's working this year, but that's fine. I like that we're at least rotating so we each get a piece of each team because what were they saying? There's like I don't know. I mean, we could check, but there's like 6 or something teams with 2 first round picks. It's the most ever. I mean, it's insane, man.
There's 8 teams that do not have a first round pick this year.
That's nuts, dude. That's nuts. But that's the way the league's going. Just trade them for proven guys, right?
Mm.
Follow the Rams model. It
Yeah,
worked
the
for them.
fuck them picks motto.
I still like do your homework and find the right picks. That's where you get the most bang for your buck. But there's like a 50% miss rate, and so if you miss, it's going to sting. Okay, so I got 8 with the Atlanta Falcons, and so James, I'm showing these guys having needs of quarterback, wide receiver, defensive end, running back, and offensive tackle. And it's tough. It's tough because quarterback, they brought in Mariota. He's on really a very economical deal. He's not getting starter money, which kind of suggests they're planning on drafting a quarterback. Um, they really have no wide receivers, and I think that that's an issue. Um, I am concerned that I mean, when I look at my prospects, you got Malik Willis as the top guy left at quarterback. Would they take him here or would they do something different? Oh, man.
The thing I see with Atlanta is this year is really a throwaway year for them.
Yeah,
They they're not going to make the playoffs this year. They're gonna be in the top 10 picking again next year. So that's one thing to consider with their pick.
you're trying to sway my pick, you son of a bitch. No, it's fine. Actually, I'm glad that you chimed in because I really don't want to go quarterback for them. I do worry a little bit because if you know, it seems like year three for a team, your seat gets awfully hot. And
Mhm.
so if they're going into year three with a rookie quarterback, that guy's got to produce right off the bat, or it could be too late for them. But if I'm an owner looking at what happened to this team, I would be looking at this is really year one of the rebuild. And so I would still have a low bar for next year as part of that. With that being the case, it may seem a little unorthodox, James, but I would go, if I'm the Falcons, I go wide receiver Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. Get a playmaker, get a guy that Mariota can work with, and then that wide receiver, maybe he's got to work through those rookie bugs so that when you get a rookie quarterback next year, this guy's already ready to go and he's going to help. It'll help with that transition of having the young passer have an established guy to throw to because right now they got no one, man. I mean, we know what's going on with Calvin Ridley. They lost Julio Jones last year, and then Russell Gage now in Tampa Bay. I mean, really, they are like bare bones at wide receiver.
Yeah, but it's really, really 1 year for that. I think Marcus Mariota, which is basically a 1 year contract, I really think there's a chance they could go quarterback in this draft. I think they should have gone quarterback last year. Let me put that up there first. But
Okay.
I think there's a chance they could go quarterback here. But really, honestly, because the quarterbacks that are there and how our draft is kind of falling together, if Kayvon Thibodeau falls to number 8,
Do you like
I
that
don't
pick
see
there?
I don't see Atlanta letting him go. I don't see Atlanta not picking him. Just my personal opinion on that.
I would not be opposed to that, but I already put in my card. It's Garrett Wilson.
All right, so
This
I
is
I
this is the fun part of doing it this way, man. It's we're gonna zig and zag each other.
so I think Olave is a better wide receiver than Garrett Wilson, in my personal opinion. Just looking at them, but I could see them going with wide receiver there because you're right. They just lost Gage and then Ridley suspended for the season. Ridley wants out anyways, so he wasn't going to play for them this year anyways. So they probably could. I could see it. I could see them easily going wide receiver there.
Yeah, and I have defensive end as their third highest priority for a need. Um, they have sucked at getting a defensive end for a long time, and they've taken some swings and missed. Something just tells me they would rather go wide receiver. It might feel safer for them.
Yeah, I could. I'm saying I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
disagreeing. It's
No,
it's
no, no, I
I see
know.
the possibilities. It's just I don't think they pass on Thibodeau if he truly does fall to them.
I got you. All right, so it's up to you at number 9 here, man, with the Seahawks.
All right. So as we know, the Seahawks um, traded away their starting quarterback and they got Drew Lock back. He's not a professional quarterback. He's maybe he'd be good at safety or or wide
Move him to
receiver.
tight
Maybe,
end,
move
pack
him to
on some
tight
weight.
end. Um, I think Seattle is looking to draft a quarterback this year. I think Malik Willis could step in as a rookie at quarterback. I think he does need developing. He has good deep ball accuracy, which you need with having Lockett and Metcalf there. He's agile. He kind of needs to get a little bit of work on his anticipation on his intermediate throws. He's he's described as a dynamic playmaker, and so I think Seattle goes with Malik Willis at number 9.
I like that pick, man. I actually like it a lot. He's almost in a similar mold as Russell Wilson with the way he can pass and run. He's definitely raw, and he's going to need some work. But you want to get a quarterback because you have those wide receivers already on the team,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that gives them the right bang for their buck at this part of the draft. I mean, I could see them like their top needs. I'm showing quarterback, offensive tackle, inside linebacker. Honestly, I could see them going with any of those 3 picks at this spot because you've got Charles Cross at offensive tackle. He's up there. You got N'Kobe Dean or Devin Lloyd at inside linebacker. He's up there, and we know they lost Bobby Wagner. But yeah, I mean, Pete Carroll's not going to be around forever, man. I think he's going to want to get his quarterback now, and if it's going to take a year for the guy to develop, do it. You've got Drew Lock, you've got Geno Smith. You can play quarterback carousel throughout this season while Willis comes up, and then hopefully next year you're hitting the ground running, man.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. It's risky, man. It's risky because, man, even Malik Willis, up until recently, nobody had him this high on their board. But I think 9 is, I think that's, more than likely that's a fair spot. All right, so that gives you the Jets again at 10 since I took them. Oh wait, no, you took, yeah, no, yeah, I took the Jets the first time around. So it's you here at 10 with the Jets.
So last year, the Jets drafted Zach Wilson. And this is along the vein of the Daniel Jones thing. You need to give Zach Wilson weapons. I think this player, the only reason why I have this player ranked number 2 at wide receiver, not number 1, is because he's coming off of an injury. And he's probably going to miss a few games, possibly going to miss a few games to start the season. He has what I'm reading about him, he has what's termed elite difference making speed.
Okay.
He explodes off the line and shows rare closing bursts to the ball in the air. He tracks the deep ball beautifully. Shifty runner and shows outstanding upfield acceleration when plucking balls on the run. And like I said, if it weren't for his injury, I think he tore his ACL. If it weren't for his injury, I would have had him at number 1 for a wide receiver, and that's Jameson Williams, from a wide receiver from Alabama.
All right, Jameson Williams. Yep. I got him here. Yeah, James. Yeah, he's a lean guy. Yeah, you mentioned the elite speed. I'm hearing that like really one of the only knocks on him is that the route tree was on the more bare side at Alabama. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot. But I've also heard he should come out, and as long as that knee heals right, he could be a freaking stud on special teams right off the bat while he develops his route tree. And he would give them that wide receiver 1 that they're looking for, which is, I think that's huge. And they did go defense earlier, so now they kick it back, they go offense. I would love to see them take one of the inside linebackers here because I think, like I talked about it a lot last year. It's like, hey, you got your rookie head coach, Robert Saleh. Don't go offense. Have a dominant defense. That's what you know best. And of course, last year they went like all offense early on. And to me, that's like it's a recipe for disaster. So this year, I would redeem myself, and I'd go all defense. I would take probably between Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd here. Man, I mean, either one, flip a coin. I'd probably go Devin Lloyd because I know I would probably go Nakobe Dean. But either way, that's what I would do. But I think your logic is sound. You got to get Zach Wilson some weapons.
All right. And this is going to be crazy. I think.
Yeah, the
And
Washington Commanders on the clock.
yeah, wow. This is just crazy. I think there's going to be 5 quarterbacks to go in the first round.
Anything can happen, man.
I think there's going to be 5. Like seriously. Like
So
yeah,
you're tipping your hand here that you think a quarterback's going to be going here.
yeah. I think so. So they got Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz isn't. If Carson Wentz is the question or is the answer, I sure as hell want to know what the fuck the question is.
That's an interesting way of putting it. Yeah.
And so, and then as I go through it, I don't know which one I see going here. 'Cause I'm high. I think I, don't- I okay. So I think the Commanders take a quarterback. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
definitely think the Commanders, Washington takes a quarterback. It's just fucking weird to say the Commanders.
It is. Yeah.
Um, and then I look at it. I think they go with Matt Corral from Ole Miss. He's or Corral or however you pronounce it. He because of the fact that they need offensive line help. I think his quick release will help him, and he's very good in the quick game and leading receivers for yards after the catch, which is like a Terry McLaurin if he's still there, and that's how I see Ron Rivera's offense. So I think Coral fits better into Ron Rivera's offense than the other options here.
Yeah. He's like a rhythm passer. It's like, okay, let's make some quick decisions, not have, 50 reads that we got to make. Let's just, keep it going. And, um, that offense, they've got Terry McLaurin. He's a solid wide receiver one. They got Curtis Samuel. He can do something as a complimentary receiver. What's his face at tight end? Former quarterback Logan Thomas. He's actually shown to be pretty solid. And then they got the tandem at running back with Gibson and what's his name, McKissick or whatever. And so yeah, I could see that kind of quarterback having success in that offense, especially when really their bread and butter is going to be the defense. Their defensive line is dominant. They got to get that defense firing on all cylinders again. And the offense just has to be mediocre, and it should work. So um, I could get down with that. I'm not thrilled with the quarterbacks in this draft, so I might go in a different direction. I might take the linebacker just to stack the defense. Um, or even maybe look at one of the wide receivers just to say, okay, hey, Wentz, we're giving you more weapons, like let's really make this work. And then even honestly, Kyle Hamilton, it's hard to pass on him with how much hype he got earlier on in the process, but I don't know that that's such a huge need for Washington. So I can't pick you apart too much there with Matt Corral.
All right, you have the next 3 now.
Oh my gosh, we're jacked up. Oh, because you took Houston earlier.
Yeah, I had Houston earlier.
Oh my, this is getting screwy, but I'm glad that you can keep track of it. Okay, so at number 12 with the Minnesota Vikings, I'm showing their needs of cornerback, offensive guard, defensive tackle, tight end, and wide receiver. It's great that they brought back Patrick Peterson, but he's not the answer. They need to get a guy. Um, Offensive guard, yeah, I think it would help if they kept investing in that offensive line, but they finally started doing that in recent years, and so I'm not sure that that happens here. Especially when I'm looking at the line, you got a tackle is your top guy. He's like the 15th rated overall prospect. Then you got a center, but they don't need a center. And would they bump Bradbury or whatever his name is? I don't know about that. Um, man, I really, really like Jordan Davis, but you've also got Ahmad Sauce Gardner in this spot, and I'm just trying to think of where they go. If I'm the Vikings, you got a young. See, this is where these rookie head coaches make their mistakes. So you got a young rookie head coach. He should be thinking he's offensive minded. He should be thinking beef up the offense because that's what I'm best at. But he's more than likely going to go defense because that's what they do. And so the pick to me is either Gardner or Davis. I think that they're going to say it's too soon for Davis because he's really only a two down guy at the next level. Even though I would take him probably personally, I think the pick's cornerback Ahmad Gardner.
I completely 100% agree with you on that. If Ahmad Gardner, if Sauce is here at number 12, there's no way Minnesota leaves him on the board.
Well, thank
There's
you. I
no way.
appreciate that support. Okay, so I'm knocking him off my list. And looking back here, next up, I got the Houston Texans. All right, so James, you took Evan Neal at 3. And so that knocks offensive tackle off their list, at least for now. I mean, they could go back to the well. I mean, why not double up? I've seen teams do that in the past. But so that puts defensive end, defensive tackle, wide receiver, and inside linebacker as their top needs here. And they've got Lovie Smith is their head coach now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when I think of Lovie Smith, I think about the Bears and a stout defense. Um, they got holes everywhere, James. They got holes everywhere. So if they went offense earlier, it would make sense for them to go defense if that's the best on their board. You got Kyle Hamilton sitting there. You got Thibodeau still sitting out there. Shit, man. I mean, I don't think I can even go farther than that. I think it's got to be Thibodeau. I got defensive end as their top need. I'm locking him in.
I actually have no argument there with Thibodeau. No argument whatsoever.
Okay.
I don't think there's any way he drops past Houston. I think if Thibodeau drops outside the top 10, I think you might see Philadelphia try to move up to get him.
Yeah, I could see a team. See, that's the thing is that he's like one of these polarizing prospects where some teams supposedly have crossed him off their list altogether because of things as stupid as him starting his own cryptocurrency and whatever else. Oh, he's got interests outside of football, so he doesn't have the right commitment. We don't want him. I think there's other teams that are looking at him thinking this guy has by far and away got the highest ceiling of the defensive ends in this class. And if he slides, I'm with you. Somebody's going to jump up to get him, man. Okay, so 14. All right, I'm up again. All right, so 14, I've got the Baltimore Ravens. And so, James, I'm showing their top needs: wide receiver, center, inside linebacker, safety, and defensive tackle. Wide receiver, it's tough. Like I know they need that wide receiver one. They drafted Hollywood Brown a few years ago. They tried bringing in Sammy Watkins. It didn't really work. The reality is that Mark Andrews is their wide receiver one. That's the guy that Lamar throws to. And so I don't know that they're going wide receiver here. If they did, just for shits and giggles, It might be, however you say his name, Chris, is it Olave or Ole from Ohio State?
Olave.
Olave, thank you. Silky smooth route runner, explodes off the line, comps to Terry McLaurin. That's not bad. You got a mobile quarterback. I don't know, man. I don't know that they do that. Center, they did lose Bozeman, and Tyler Linderbaum, he's not that far away. I could see maybe they would want that, but same thing. Mobile quarterback, I'm not sure that that's their spot. I can't help but see Kyle Hamilton sitting there, man. I mean, it's just he's way too high on the board for them to not take. Baltimore loves their defensive backs, and safety is a need for them. I got to plug in Kyle Hamilton here, man.
I agree with you. I think if Kyle Hamilton is sitting there, I do not see Baltimore passing up on him.
Yeah, that's another one that, I think people would look at his 40 time and they could see him sliding down the board. But some team's going to say, no way, man. As soon as he starts to slide, go and pluck him. He's one of these rare safeties, 93 rating, versatile playmaker. The guy gets the picks, gets in, gets his hands on the ball. Great size. The questionable speed, I've heard a lot of people say just watch the tape because he plays faster on the field than he ran in the 40. And so potentially there's nothing to worry about. All right, so James, that puts you at 15 with the Eagles, man.
So when I look at the Eagles and what they need, they need defensive end, wide receiver, corner, safety, inside linebacker. I think if Thibodeau is falling, I think they might try to move up ahead of Houston to snatch him up. But since that Thibodeau, we're not doing trades. And then I think, okay, so wide receiver, but Philadelphia is notorious for swinging and missing on wide receivers. Do I trust them to take a wide receiver? No. One player that I'm seeing that I have in my top 10 that kind of fits a need for. I'm sorry, I don't have him in the top 10. I have him at number 12. Close enough. That fits a need for Philadelphia is, but yeah, he may be coming off injuries, and that may be why teams might be down on him. He's physical in coverage, which should tell you where I'm going. He can play press man, off coverage. He can even play safety if need be. And that's Derek Stingley from LSU, corner back.
Yeah, and up until recently, he was regarded as the top cornerback in this class, and so I've not really even heard a whole lot about why he slid down. Is it just that Sauce has risen that fast, and it just he's kind of stayed the same, or?
Well, one of the things, and like when you study his tape, he has a little bit of development to do, and that's
Okay.
why I think he's sliding down. He gets stuck when he's being blocked. He missed some tackles. Like there's some technique issues he has. He's more of because he's been coming off injuries. He's kind of the last 2 seasons. He kind of has been, let's say, allergic to contact.
It's interesting you say that because yeah, I did read something about him being an unreliable tackler, and especially against the running game. Um, but the good thing is he goes to Philly and he ends up being their number 2 guy because they got Slay at 1, and so hopefully that gives him a little bit of a soft landing to figure some of that stuff out at the next level.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, so I agree with you. They would want a defensive end. let's just for shits and giggles, James, because we do have the draft pick value chart. If Thibodeau slid, where do you think they would jump up to get him? At 11 with Washington? Do you think they try and go up higher than that? Maybe going to 9 with Seattle?
I think they would try to go to 9 with Seattle because defensive end's also a need for the Jets.
Okay, yeah, and in this mock we gave the Jets one earlier, but you never know. There could be other
Oh,
teams trying to move up too.
I forgot about Walker.
But let's just say it's Seattle. You know, we do have our draft pick value chart, James. And so if they were going to go from 15 to 9, you're talking about a difference of 1350 and 1050. So they got to come up with 300 points. That really doesn't seem that bad. So they'd be throwing them a late second round pick with their first round pick, but if they had one,
They have
they,
so they throw 15 and 51, and that would hit the value.
yeah, I mean, I would bet that Seattle would want more, but you know,
Yeah,
if you went
exactly.
literally by the chart, that's all it would take potentially to get the deal done. You know, if you fell in love with Thibodeau, I think that's yeah, you're saying, hey man, we want you, and it's a first and a second round pick to get you. I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
And it depends on how in love with Willis or the that Seattle is, because and it also depends on if Atlanta takes Garrett Wilson, because if Atlanta goes with Malik Willis, then I see a
Oh
much
yeah,
higher likelihood that Seattle tries to trade out of that pick.
yeah.
Where if Atlanta, just like we have them going with Garrett Wilson, then Seattle might try to keep that pick because the Washington could pick Willis at 11.
Yep.
So that's where it depends. So it depends on it on where the quarterback Seattle ranks these quarterbacks and what happens with Atlanta.
Oh yeah, yeah. A million different decision trees. They could all play out. Yeah. I like it, dude. I like it. So yeah. So in this case, they're taking Stingley and they're locking down that secondary. But yeah, those are some of the different paths it could take. All right. So that takes me to the Saints at 16. Um, and so James, I'm showing they've got needs of wide receiver, inside linebacker, defensive tackle, offensive tackle, and cornerback. You just took a cornerback off the board. Um, you know, historically, the Saints have loved being super deep at cornerback, but I don't see them touching it at this point now. Um, this is a situation where I feel like it's a similar kind of coaching situation. Even though Dennis Allen's not a rookie head coach, he did have some time in the past with the Raiders briefly. But I think he could fall into that same trap where he's really a defensive minded guy, but he might be looking at drafting on the offense. And, you know, if I am the Saints, man, if I'm the Saints, I mean, I would be looking at these linebackers right now. They're the top of the board. They got a great defense. Get your linebacker of the future. But would they do that? You were just talking to me a couple weeks ago about them drafting a wide receiver because Michael Thomas, who knows what's going on with him, they don't have a whole lot left in that cupboard behind him. I think that that's what they're doing, James. It's their top need. You got Chris Olave. He's got a near same rating as the linebackers on the board. They're sitting at 91. He's sitting at 90. Silky smooth route runner. We talked about it earlier. Comps to Terry McLaurin. How great would it be one Ohio State wide receiver replaces another? Olave. I'm putting it in.
Damn you.
Damn you. Well, I'm glad that it's getting spicy.
So I like Olave. I like Olave there. I was I think that the Chiefs are going to try to make a move to trade up to draft Olave because of his speed and his quickness, and he can stretch the field.
Okay.
Um, so so that's why I said damn you, because like
Well, let's do the card again. So the Chiefs are down farther. How far up do you think they got to go to get Olave? Because obviously we're not really picking in real life here. Do you think Olave slides down into the 20s and then they move up to get him, or do you think somebody goes crazy like Baltimore and they take him and they'd have to get up higher?
I think that I think right here is the sweet spot where Olave would go. So they just would have to go up one pick above this.
Okay. So you think they'd have to get to Philly's spot?
Yeah,
Okay. And so maybe, I mean,
Philly's not trading down. So
yeah, I mean, this could be a case where maybe Philly already traded up and maybe you got Seattle sitting here and Seattle's like, shit, yeah, we're just going to keep rolling and loading up picks. It could be one of those scenarios. It's happened before. And so either way, we're saying Kansas City's got to get up to 15 and their first pick is 29. And so for 15, you're talking 1050 is the point value and 29 is 640. It's a similar kind of spread as what Philly had to cover. You're talking, you know, no, it's a little more. You're talking 410. So, man, 410.
put it put it this way: if I was Kansas City, I would be willing to part with both my first round picks to trade up high enough to get Olave.
Okay. Well, they do have the number 50 pick, which is worth 400. So they could do 29 and 50. But yeah, I mean, 29 and 30, that's 1260. That's not like wildly overpaying to jump up and get your guy. All right, but I sniped him from you. So you're at number 17 with the Los Angeles Chargers, James.
So the Chargers needs defensive tackle, guard, inside linebacker, safety, and tight end. There's no tight end in this draft that has a first round grade.
No.
Safeties I have further back. I think they go defensive tackle here. And I have this guy rated as my number one defensive tackle. It's Devontae Wyatt
Oh
from
man,
Georgia.
zigging when I'd be zagging.
And I mean, he has fast eyes, quick hands to slip blocks, and he's he he's basically dominates in defensive line. He has shorter arms, which could be a hindrance, but he shows snap in his hands and always fighting the finish. Against the run, this is the quote. Against the run, Wyatt is stout at the point of attack and shows good leverage to hold his ground. And this is not a knock. This
Yeah.
sounds like a knock, where they say the one area in which he struggles at times is holding ground versus double teams.
Yep.
That's
was just
not a
thinking that.
knock. That
Okay.
is not a knock.
Well,
And
because most guys can't handle the double team, but I mean, if the rest of his game is solid, I just don't know why wouldn't you go with the other Georgia defensive tackle in Jordan Davis, man. I mean, they're saying that guy he's the game changer. He's the guy that's always getting double teamed and he's still getting that inside pressure.
I just got
You're
feeling.
just not feeling it.
I'm just not feeling. I don't feel Jordan Davis. I have Jordan Davis. I have Wyatt above Davis,
Okay.
but I think I'm looking more at potential for the growth I think Davis is what you have is what you're going to see, and I think Wyatt can get better.
And I mean, I can't knock you too hard. Both of them have a 90 rating, okay, and so they're right there. And honestly, Wyatt might make a little more sense in today's NFL where there's a lot of speed and you got to be a little bit more versatile. Davis, we talked about it. He's a two down guy. You can't really have him in there on third down because He's just not that kind of guy. So, I can't knock you, man. I can't knock you. I'm just, man, the tape I've seen on Davis, everything I've read about him, I'm just like super high on that guy. But I got you. Okay.
One thing to think about is, didn't New Orleans trade to get ahead of the Chargers?
Was that there was, I guess, yeah, I guess tell me about that because they did, so they got the two picks. So they got 16 and they got 19. If the point of getting the 16 was to get ahead of the Chargers, who is it for you to think they get?
I just, I just want to see
Because
something.
the Chargers wouldn't be going wide receiver. They could be going defensive tackle.
Exactly.
The Chargers, you know,
Did did the Saints trade up to get their defensive tackle?
man, I don't know, but 16. I mean, I
Just
guess
just a thought.
that puts me at 18 with the Philadelphia Eagles. And with them taking Stingley at 15, they're looking defensive end, wide receiver, safety, inside linebacker. And I'm not sure that the right value is there for them for defensive end. They could go George Karlaftis out of Purdue. Um, I like the linebackers here, but James, the one thing that's hitting my mind here is they just re-signed their massive nose tackle to a 1 year deal, and the guy is at like the end of his career, basically. I'm trying to remember his name.
Oh,
Is it Fletcher
Fletcher
Cox?
Cox, yeah.
Man, he has been such a stalwart for that defense. Maybe this would be the spot they would be happy Davis fell to them because, I mean, you're talking a guy cut from a similar kind of cloth coming in and backfilling him. You'd have them both for a year, and then he could take the ball and run with it. Or do they go for a different position? That's the question. Um, I mean, if it was me, I would take Davis,
Hmm.
but I don't think that that's the best fit for them. I think that they would rather. No, I don't know. I think it is. I'm going to say it because they need a defensive end, and the value's not there to get a defensive end. If you can get a disruptor on that defensive line, that's your second best thing. It's not going linebacker. It's going for a defensive lineman that can be a game changer. So, you know what, James? I am going Jordan Davis here for the Eagles.
I I like that pick. You're a bastard. You're a bastard. But I like that pick.
Well, I'm glad that you're liking my picks at least, because I was expecting a lot more flack from you tonight the way you started the show, man.
All right. So I, I like the logic in that pick because he right now Jordan Davis is a two down maximum lineman. You can kind of mix him in there, and you can develop him into a three down lineman. And I like the fit with Philly with them having Fletcher Cox there. So you're looking Jordan Davis to kind of spell Fletcher Cox at times on like second down, like have Fletcher Cox first and third and Davis on second or whatever. So I really like that. Like I like the fit. I think it's a great fit. I think I have no argument with that.
Okay.
Damn.
Well, then that puts you at 19 with the Saints, man.
All right. So the Saints, let's assume they got their wide receiver in Olave. And the reason why I called you a bastard is because I was hoping after I started to think about it, I was thinking maybe Jordan Davis was their defensive tackle they wanted, which is why they traded up. So I was going to slide him back in here. I don't think so. They still need inside linebacker, defensive tackle, offensive tackle, and corner
Hmm.
back. I'm going
So
to throw a
you've got a
curveball on this
couple.
one.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to throw a curveball on this one. I am. Shit. That's all I have to say is shit.
Uh, I mean, you're at a point in the first round with a team that already made a pick that if you want to take a swing, this is where you do it.
I think they're going to go quarterback here.
Oh shit. That's really okay. All right. Tell me who you're thinking. Tell me who you're thinking.
All right. This quarterback has quick hands in the RPO. He has a little bit of flutter in his ball. He when on the move. I'm sorry. When on the from inside the pocket with on the move, he has a little bit of flutter in his ball at the end, but that's fixable. He's he's rated as having the best deep ball accuracy of any quarterback in the 2022 class.
Okay.
Excellent touch, trajectory, and placement on deep shots and seams. And I mean, mechanics need a little refinement. There's a little bit. You have Jameis Winston there for a year. I'm gonna go with Sam Howell from North Carolina.
Man, no, I definitely did not see that one coming. Um, yeah, let me just cross him off my list here. Yeah, see, this is where it's deceiving. So he's the number 50 on the ESPN list. But quarterbacks, man, they do get crazy come draft night. And if you find a guy you like, you make that move to go and get him. And so I could see it happening, man. It could definitely happen. Um, if I'm the Saints, man, if I'm the Saints, I don't know how you don't take one of these linebackers at this spot. I mean, they could use a stud linebacker, and you got two of them staring you in the face. I would
So
probably
the
go.
the other thing I looked at on it was as part of the trade with Philly. I'm trying to see. I want to read more of that trade because I think where is it? Round two, round one. There we go. Philadelphia. All right. So Philadelphia traded 2 first rounds, 16 and 19, and a 6th round to New Orleans for the 18th. Okay. Never mind.
All right.
Because I was looking at it and I was like, they stayed above, but they made sure they stayed above Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That's where my thought was going.
Well, sometimes it's just the way it works out, but I know what you mean. There could have been some game theory behind that. All right. Well, here, let me go with Pittsburgh at 20. And so, James, I'm showing their top needs as offensive tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, inside linebacker, and quarterback. Um, they've got a weird situation at quarterback. Um, you know, I don't know that Mason Rudolph is the guy. You know, we Dwayne Haskins, his situation happened. Um, who's their other quarterback now?
Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, thank you, Mitchell Trubisky. I know that you've been talking me into liking him a little bit, and there's some appeal. He's been warming up to me, you know. I mean, I saw enough of him in Chicago that the dude does have a live arm here and there. It looks pretty damn good. Um, I don't know that they're going quarterback. I think that for these guys, they drafted Najee Harris high last year. And you and I talked about this a few weeks ago. I think they need to change their strategy and they need to set him up to be their workhorse while they figure out what they're going to do. Maybe Mitch Trubisky in his second run at starting can be the guy. If not, you be patient and you get your quarterback next year since there's so many question marks on it this year. I'm looking at offensive tackle Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. He is a run blocking mauler with the tools to develop into a solid pass blocker. I think that gets them what they need. Uh, and he can work on his pass blocking skills over the course of the year. Trubisky is fairly mobile too. So if this guy's got to develop in that regard, it's fine because he's going to open up some freaking lanes for Harris, man. Thoughts?
You surprised me a little bit with Penning. I thought you were going to go with Charles Cross.
Charles Cross. So I got Cross has a 90 rating. Penning has an 89. Cross. The reason I went Penning is because of the run blocking ability is
Mm-hmm.
superior. Cross, he is the note I had for him best suited for a zone running scheme, which is not horrible, but it just seemed like if you really want a road grading guy, it seems like Penning's the pick between the two.
Makes sense.
So that kicks it back to you at 21 with the Patriots, my friend.
So the Patriots don't have a number one receiver.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. I think this player probably starts off could be like a number three and develop into a number one, but he is coming back from an injury. He's actually, let me take a look. I think I have him. I have him higher than a lot of people have him. I don't. I think 83 is a terrible grade for this receiver. I think he's better than the guys that are rated at 89. I think he's as good or projects out as good as Olave from what I'm seeing on him.
Okay.
And yeah, he's coming back from another player coming back from an ACL tear. So he's physical. He has body control. He creates late separation. This is Scott say he's difficult to defend when the ball is in the air, and he does an excellent job of making late adjustments.
Okay.
The thing that stands out most on tape is that he does a great job tracking the deep ball. And that was the progression for Mr. Mac Jones.
Okay.
And they progress into the deep ball. He's he is capable of creating yards after the catch, and that would be George Pickens from Georgia.
All right, George Pickens. Let me pencil him in here. So I was not expecting that, but I do agree. They've got a need there. They've had a hard time getting a wide receiver one, and it's just They've drafted guys, they've taken shots, it just hasn't worked. Um, for me, if I'm looking at the Patriots, I think that their focus is going to be on the defensive side of the ball. I think that especially with the way the way the board fell to them, they have a big need at inside linebacker and they have a big need at cornerback. And guys at both of those positions fell to them. They could have had their picking of Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd, which basically that helps them replace Devonta Hightower, their former inside linebacker, or they go Trent McDuffie out of Washington and they replace J.C. Jackson. He's the best tackling cornerback in the class. I think either way, that would be like their most bang for their buck. But your pick, and it's sound logic. They do need a wide receiver one. You've been talking up Pickens for a while. What I've read on him, he looks like he's got a great ceiling. It's just a matter of can he come back from that injury all the way and start trusting that knee, and then let's see where it goes. So I'm with you on that. That's cool. Um, yeah, all right. So that takes me to 22 with Green Bay. And Green Bay, they've got needs at wide receiver, which everybody and their mom knows, inside linebacker, defensive end, offensive tackle, and cornerback. I'm not so sure that their inside linebacker need is as pressing, even though I've got it listed as number two, because they did bring back Devondre Campbell at linebacker. Um, I just don't know how they don't take a wide receiver. I mean, that's it. It's just a matter of which guy is it, and when I'm looking at my best available wide receiver, you got Treylon Burks from Arkansas, 89 grade. You've got, however you say his name, Jahan Dotson from Penn State, 89 grade. And if you went down a little further from that, you got Sky Moore from Western Michigan. They had some success in the past with, what's his name, a former Western Michigan guy. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. You know who I'm talking about. Uh, Now I got to look it up, James.
Shit, what was it? I'm drawing a blank too.
Holy cow. I got to find it. How can I be? Greg Jennings. I was going to say Greg Jones. Greg Jennings. There we go. Would they go Sky Moore? I don't know. I don't see that happening. It's a small school thing, and they got a hit, and so I think it'd be between Treylon Burks and Jahan Dotson. So Burks, solid size, excels after the catch. That's something that Devontae Adams was good at, excelling after the catch. His knock is he's got some focus issues. Dotson, on the other hand, elite ball skills and body control, but he's undersized. Man, I don't know. I don't see how they go in any other direction than wide receiver. Um, if it's between these two, I don't know that the size is as big of a deal because you got Rodgers throwing to him. I think I'm going Dotson.
I understand the need to have Green Bay draft a wide receiver.
But would they panic?
No.
Yeah.
I think the issue is the wide receivers that are left on the board grade out as a number 3 or a slot guy, and they need a number 1. So if
they need a 1 and a 2,
yeah,
and maybe a 3.
no, they have Lazard, and they still have Randall Cobb. I think if they're if their intention is to go wide receiver, I think they trade way up
Okay.
to get a guy that grades out as a number one, and it's not Green Bay's style
It's
to
not.
trade up. But then again, it's not their style to draft a wide receiver. And you went with Dotson there?
Yeah.
Okay. I see them going offensive tackle or corner back here. Hell, they might even pick another quarterback here. You don't know what Brian Gutekunst is going to do.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's tough because, when I look at if I discount linebacker, you're talking defensive end or offensive tackle. They could go Charles Cross. They could go Karlaftis. And then, yeah, cornerback, they could do McDuffie. Oh, man.
Right. And pick who you picked.
Oh, all right. Was the card turned in, James?
That's what I heard.
All right, the card's turned in. It's Dotson.
All right.
There's no going back.
Arizona Cardinals. There's an obvious pick here. There's a very obvious pick here. I hope you see it.
For the
This is what.
Cardinals, let me see.
So, you have a player out there that has the ability to locate the ball in the air, and he plays the run with a linebacker's mentality,
Okay.
among other things. And he's probably the best tackling cornerback in the draft.
Oh, gotcha.
And that's Trent McDuffie.
I like that pick there. Yeah, I mean, he's sitting at the top of the board at this point. They have a need at cornerback. I think they'd love to get help on that defensive line because Chandler Jones is gone. Um, you know, J.J. Watt's not really getting it done, but they do miss Patrick Peterson in that secondary. McDuffie would be rock solid there. I like that pick. All right, let me cross him off here, James. McDuffie. And so that takes me to Dallas at 24. And Dallas has needs at defensive tackle, guard, safety, tight end, and defensive end. Man, it's tough. They've needed another defensive end forever. I mean, let's just look at this. So if they went with the best guy to fit a need, they'd be looking at potentially George Karlaftis from Purdue. Maybe. Or if they went offensive line, they could go Kenyon Green from Texas A&M. I don't think they go Tyler Linderbaum because he's a center, and they're good at center. Could they go Charles Cross? Maybe. There's a couple different directions they could go. They don't need linebacker, at least not right now. Maybe after this year. I'm not really seeing a defensive tackle here. So I mean, their offensive line has been like one of the, you could argue it was their bread and butter for years. And so I'm tempted to go after a guard. I like what I read about Kenyon Green. Outstanding run blocker. He's got average mirror and slide, but it's him or Charles Cross. Would they take a tackle when the need is at guard. I'm trying to think of who they got playing at right tackle because I know they lost La'el Collins in Cincinnati, and they got um, what's his face, Tyron at left tackle. He's getting long in the tooth. I think they go Charles Cross. They can put him at right tackle, and then a year from now they can move him to left tackle if Tyron goes to greener pastures. And you're flicking me off, James. You're flicking me off.
Yeah.
Did I snipe your pick?
Well, not for the next pick, but a couple down the
Okay.
line, so it's fine. It's fine. I like that pick. I think I think guard. It's still a little bit high to pick a guard here. Um, just a little bit high. The offensive guards kind of rate out more as second round picks than first round picks. A desperate team maybe, but I like that pick.
Okay.
Um, at number 25, I'm gonna throw you another curveball again.
Do it, dude. You got I mean, dude, Buffalo is so stacked. You could go in any direction realistically. I'm just saying, unless you went quarterback, I'd be like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
So
Don't go quarterback, James. Don't.
I'm not going quarterback.
I would call Tori and be like, something's going on with James. You need to check on him.
Running back,
Oh, all right.
Kenneth Walker the third.
What? What?
I actually have him as my top rated running back in this draft.
I like him a
Because
lot, dude, but you know I'm Sparty biased.
yeah, and I think that it might be that, but I see Buffalo going with a running back here because it's the one thing they need. They need a running game.
They could use a good running back. And I
Um,
mean, Walker had some beastly games at Michigan State last year.
yeah, he wasn't used much in the passing game, but from everything I'm reading, he's shown reliable hands, and he can create yards after the catch. He's good at contact. He's quick. He bursts through the hole. Good acceleration off his cuts. I think if a running back were to go in the first round, that this is where it would happen.
Jeez, man. I like it. And I will say this. I did read an article on ESPN about Brees Hall the other day, and it was talking about, um, like whatever, they got all these adjusted stats on, how many yards do they create for themselves and things like that. And they were saying Brees Hall was in like the elite category where he compared to guys like LaDainian Tomlinson. And I thought, holy shit, like could he be like a sleeper running back that nobody's looking at that could be like the next fucking 10-year stud? Like, I don't know, but it got me excited. But the thing with Kenneth Walker, even though in this particular article they had him more average, I like the tape on him. And it just, he's a hard nosed runner. He's not afraid of contact. He just fucking gets yards, man. And I get it. People are saying maybe not all the speed's there and maybe the hands aren't there for catching the ball. But, if the guy can play, the guy can play, man.
Hmm.
I like that pick. You just got me excited. But that's the Sparty in me getting pumped up there. Um, okay. So, and I'm good with that. Like I said, I could see Buffalo going any direction. I'm totally good with that. Next up, we got Tennessee at 26. They need a guard, an inside linebacker, a cornerback, a defensive end, and an offensive tackle. James, I'll be honest, I was really tempted when I passed on Kenyon Burke a minute ago with Dallas. I thought, ooh, man, Tennessee, outstanding run blocker, Derrick Henry, could that be the pick? I don't see it. I think I think it's way too late in the game for a team to not take Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd at inside linebacker. Tennessee has the need. If it's between the two, I think they take Nakobe Dean coming off the championship Georgia squad. Great processing speed, reliable tacker. The dude's legit. That's my pick here.
I have no arguments.
Dude, I'm just like shutting you down tonight, man. Or we're just in sync. That's probably the better way of putting it. You and me are just in sync.
All right, so I have the next three
Okay.
because you
I'll
had
just
Green Bay at 22, so I have Green Bay at 28.
I'll just settle in. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Tampa Bay needs offensive guard, defensive tackle, defensive end, tight end, and safety. I just stated I don't think any of these guards are first round picks.
Okay.
I just want to see something really quick on the
Todd
note.
Bowles is a defensive-minded coach. He's been a head coach before, for whatever it's worth, you know.
So I see defensive end as more of an edge guy than a defensive end.
I agree with that. Yeah. On that defense, yeah. It can be a hybrid guy.
Oh, I missed that news. Never mind about him.
What's that?
Nothing.
Okay. You're gonna wait and see if I step on a landmine is what you're doing.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. If I step on a landmine, you're gonna be able to you're gonna have to give me a mulligan on the pick, James, because we help each other on this show.
All right. So this guy is described as prototypical bulk and arm length for a hybrid edge defender.
Okay.
Explosive with outstanding top end speed for his size.
Okay.
As a pass rusher, fast takeoff, active hands, good change of direction quickness, impressive torso flexibility to work through contact, and explosive finishing burst through the quarterback.
Oh, all right. I like what I'm hearing.
His weaknesses: exposes his chest a bit too often. Sometimes his power moves stall out. And I don't know how to pronounce his name. So I'm just going to say Boye Mafi.
Oh, yeah, the dude from Minnesota.
Yep.
All right. I like that pick there. I've read a lot of good stuff on that guy, and yeah, he can fit that edge role. 88 grade, Minnesota. Um, Man, if I was Tampa Bay, I don't know that there's a different play for them. I mean, I was looking at Daxton Hill at safety. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
man, maybe, but you know, I mean, I think they're okay. They made some moves in that secondary, and so it's not that pressing of a need. And then my other guy I'm looking at was Karlaftis, but you're right, the way they run that defense, you know, a hybrid is maybe more appropriate. Um, I like it. I like it. All right, you're up again, my friend.
So Green Bay, as you had stated, you don't think inside linebackers is really true need for them.
Well, I just was saying not as pressing as I had it as number two, but I felt like it was deceiving having that be their number two need.
Yeah, I think I I honestly think if this player falls this far, there's no way Green Bay is gonna pass up on him.
You got to take him.
You got to take him, Devin Lloyd.
Okay. Yeah, this is far for him to fall. And it's I mean Green Bay's running a 3-4 still, right? I mean, so it's one of those things, it's just kind of the inside linebacker position. I think gets discounted a little bit in those kinds of schemes, but
So I have Devin Lloyd as the number one inside linebacker in the draft. Uh, he's kind of off the ball linebacker. He's has good straight line speed, lower body explosion. He played safety in high school.
yep, I saw that former safety.
He's good at man-to-man coverage. He's good in zone. He's effective hands in pass rushing. He's bend around the edge. He consistently wins against backs when he rushes between the tackles. He's excellent laterally. I mean, this guy is the wet dream on defense for Green Bay.
It is a steal at this point in the draft. It really is. And I would say this, in past years, it was common for inside linebackers to slide down the board. I think we've seen now in a number of drafts where you had what's his face, Devin Bush, go to the Steelers. You had Devin White go to Tampa Bay. You had the dude go to Baltimore, and then Micah Parsons last year. I think they're becoming more popular, and people are accepting them as being a feasible higher first round pick, but they still just historically have had a tendency to fall. And if he fell, yeah, it's a steal for Green Bay. All right, you're up again, my friend.
All right. So,
Kansas City at
Kansas City
29.
needs to figure out how to replace Tyreek Hill. And like I said earlier, I think they make a move to move up the board to get somebody. But if you look at Kansas City, really their number one receiver is Kelsey.
Yeah, that's true.
Number two currently is Mecole Hardman. I actually have this guy rated pretty high at wide receiver. He's probably a solid number two in the future. He's probably going to be a three, work into a two. He adjusts well on the deep ball and has a frame to win a high percentage of jump balls. He has big hands, and he can pluck the ball out of the air on the run. Great body control. Gains separation by shielding defensive backs with his big frame. He locates soft spots in zones well. I mean, this is the player that this is, if anybody of the wide receivers still available was a possible replacement for Tyreek Hill, it would be Treylon Burks.
Okay. All right. Treylon Burks. Let me cross him off here. Out of Arkansas, 89 grade. Yeah, he excels after the catch. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think they got to do something there. I mean, it's just you put so much money into Mahomes. Are you really gonna like have him? And I mean, yeah, you said it. They still got Kelsey, but other than Kelsey, man, I don't know. I feel like they got to do something. Um, I'm good with that. And then, yeah, I mean, looking at their other needs, they're picking back to back. They've got options. They can take that chance and still fill a need somewhere else. We're showing defensive end, cornerback, safety, and guard. I don't think that they're going to go crazy on guard. They put in a lot of money into what's his face last year in free agency. Um, if it's between safety and cornerback and you have your choice of comparable guys, I think you go cornerback because that's considered the more premium of those two positions. And then defensive end, obviously, if you can get to the quarterback, you want to do that. And so at defensive end, you got George Karlaftis on the board, 89 grade out of Purdue. You could go down a little bit further and you could look at Ojabo from U of M. He's one of those hybrid guys. He would fit that defense. I think at safety, you got Daxton Hill from Michigan. At cornerback, you got Andrew Booth out of Clemson or Kyler Gordon out of Washington. I like Andrew Booth a lot. He has outstanding short area burst. He can fit into multiple schemes. The guy doesn't really have a whole lot of knocks on him. He's like a pretty fundamentally sound cornerback. Kansas City's been like, honestly, they've been like rolling the dice with guys at cornerback for a long time. They do still have a couple guys on that defensive line with Chris Jones and what's his face. So they're
Steve
not,
Ford.
thank you. So they're not like totally desperate to get a defensive end just yet. I'm going Andrew Booth Jr. here for them.
That's where I thought you were going. That's exactly where I thought you were going.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And so you get to close it off with the last two here, James.
Yeah, I was realizing that, and I was looking at the needs here, and then I was like, oh shit. So I was hoping you wouldn't go with Booth. I thought that's where you were going, but
Mm,
I was hoping that's not where you were going.
yeah, you
So
would have loved to put him in at Cincinnati,
yeah, so I have to look at the other guy real quick.
Kyler Gordon.
Yeah, I just have to look at it. Uh,
Yeah, and then there's a little bit of a drop after him. You got Elam from Florida, but you're going from 88 to 84.
yeah, no, like I mean, I I think Gordon's a late second round pick. Elam's
Yeah,
middle
even
late second
farther back.
round. Elam's even further back. Gordon's middle late second round. Elam's further back than that.
Yeah, in this scenario, the board doesn't really line up well for Cincinnati.
Yeah. So I'm wondering.
And here, I'll say this about Kyler Gordon. I'll give you my note on him. Elite closing burst and effective tackler. But the big knock, and some people think it's pretty big, is that he gambles too much.
Mhm.
And when I read it, man, it like to me, it reminded me of Dre Bly a little bit. I mean, Bly wasn't always that great of a tackler, but a guy that was like, man, he'll make plays, but he'll also get his ass burned. And that's what happened in the Super Bowl. They had a cornerback get burned. I don't know
Mhm.
if they want to take a guy that gambles too much. So, but maybe because he's got that elite closing burst. Anytime you tag elite onto a skill, especially late first round.
See, the two knocks that are on him on is it's yeah, he gambles too much, but he also his eyes get stuck in the backfield too much.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna go with Karlaftis.
Okay.
Karlaftis could actually slide inside too, to if need be. He can be an uh, interior rusher, but
That's a good point.
he's the quote I have for him. He has explosive lower body power and features a nasty bull rush. He's quick on his first three steps. Um, he his power, and I just think his biggest knock as a pass rusher is his lack of length.
Yeah, you put him with what's the guy they got from free agency last year, Trey Hendrickson or something, the dude from the
Yeah,
Saints. You pair those guys up, you're getting to the quarterback. I like what you're saying, how you can move him inside, because when you can get that interior pressure, it can really disrupt an offense. And honestly, unless you wanted to take the chance on Kyler Gordon, which I think would be poorly received in Cincinnati after the way they just lost the Super Bowl. I mean, the board just does not work with them. I mean, all you could really do is, maybe you throw a dart on an offensive lineman because you just know that you got to be so deep now at that position. But they really, I think they did pretty well shoring up the offensive line. So I don't know.
Yeah. And then the Lions. The Lions. The Lions.
Yeah,
So
so this is important, James. I know that you talked about it earlier, but this is where this last pick, it's, you still got a fifth year option, and so there's some desire for that, whether you could trade it because somebody else wants to get that fifth year option on a guy, or if you find a guy that you just want to have that extra time with and maybe give them the extra year to develop or whatever else. I think it's good for the Lions that they have that pick.
so the Lions have, what was it, 32 and then 34 again.
Yes.
And I actually have this player rated as my number 34 player in this draft.
Okay.
It's a little higher than most. This player finished his career with 2,180 rushing yards,
Ooh.
28 rushing touchdowns. His team was 44-6 with him as a starter. Completed 62% of his career passing attempts. He gets the ball out on time, shows good touch and trajectory, sees the whole field and progresses through reads quickly. Excellent against the blitz. Extends plays with his mobility, but his pocket awareness needs a little work.
Well, you got a year to ride it behind Goff.
And that would be Desmond Ridder.
Man, you were just talking him up like what a week or two ago?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, in this scenario, they got Hutchinson early on. You're getting Ritter here. They still need a wide receiver one, but they don't have it. Their other needs are cornerback, inside linebacker, and safety. Daxton Hill's there from Michigan. That would fill a need. Kyler Gordon, risky pick. I don't think that's the right spot. I mean, really, the way that this board fell, I'm fine with them taking that gamble, man. And then I think it's like we talked about earlier. You've now taken a first round quarterback. It's a late first round pick, which I like. If you do not have a warm and fuzzy on this guy by the end of next year, you just can't be afraid to do it again in the draft next year. I think it's like you've got some chances. Don't be afraid to take them.
Yeah, and the thing with it is, I want to double check this. I actually want to double check this before I say this, but I think not. I think after next year is the out for
Goff.
Goff.
Okay, I thought it was I thought it was after this season, 2022.
Yeah, that's what I was second guess. I just want to double check it before I definitively say that, but I thought it was after next year. No, you're right. It is after this year.
Okay.
But next year, I mean next year it's still only 25 million against the cap if he's still on the team next year.
Hmm.
And it's even less a hit if they get rid of him after next year because then his dead cap would be 5 million.
Okay.
I think it's ironic that in the trade for Goff, they're going to get the pick to replace Goff.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like a play on Olave going to replace Thomas.
Yeah,
OSU to replace OSU. You're taking, yeah, the pick you traded for the guy to, yeah, or in the trade with the guy. Yeah, no, that'd be funny, man.
but yeah,
All right.
I think they're gonna get a quarterback this year. It's just the sense I'm getting that that's where they're going on it. It's either going to be Malik Willis at number 2 or Desmond Ritter at number 32, and that would be my 5th quarterback in the first round.
Okay. So, listen, because we're on this, I want to segue to our question of the week, James. Uh, I had I love doing these mock drafts, and I'm going to have fun doing the second round with you next week. Second round gets harder because there's not as much material on those guys, so you got to do some deeper digging. But you and I are going to do that. We like doing that. That's cool. My question of the week, it's Lions related, and we saw some of the scenarios that could play out with the draft. With the talk going on now with Debo wanting out of San Francisco, do you think Detroit should try to get in on that action and see if he can be their wide receiver one that they need? And then, if so, would you try to give up that 32 pick in a package to get him, whereby maybe you take Willis at 2, and now you got Debo at 32, basically, maybe plus whatever if you got to sprinkle a cherry on top or something. But you got your quarterback of the future, and you basically got your wide receiver core set up now as well.
Fuck yes.
Fuck yes. Okay. Do you want to
Put it this
elaborate
way.
on that?
Put it this way. If I were the Lions, I would be picking up the phone and calling Washington. Hey, you want to trade us? You want to trade McLaurin? Pick up the phone. Call Tennessee. Hey, you want to trade AJ Brown? Pick up the phone. Call Seattle. Hey, you want to trade DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett? Pick up the yeah. I would give up the number 2 pick for fucking a wide receiver number 1 right now. And maybe not that extreme, but
Yeah. Well, because
it's
I guess there was talk of what was it? The Jets offered the number 10 for Metcalf and got
mhm.
denied. See, I mean, I think Metcalf's on a whole different level compared to Debo, but I mean, I'd be fine with the 32 and then maybe another pick, but like a third or a fourth to go with it. I'd be hard pressed to go to the 2.
I know. I was being more hyperbolic about the
Yeah.
number 2 pick than it was more of the getting that wide receiver number 1 and getting that quarterback of the future, because the quarterback of the future is not Jared Goff. I don't care how much you want to argue that he is. He's not the franchise quarterback. He's a placeholder.
So with Debo, does it bother you then with what's going on in San Francisco with him asking for a trade? Or you just think, hey, this is just the way it is in the NFL today. It's fine. I just worry if you bring a guy like that to Detroit, you're going to trade some stuff to get him, and then you're going to pay him top dollar. And you already know that if things don't go right, he's going to bitch and moan and want out. Like Detroit, we got to be patient, and so I just, oh man, I think it's risky. And then, we talked about the gadget kind of stuff that he does in San Francisco. You know, I don't know. I'm not like totally sold on it, and that's why I asked. I don't know that I really have a good answer for it. I think I want to fill that wide receiver one. It just, man, I think there's some question marks with the way that this is unfolding with him in San Francisco that give me some pause.
I agree with you. I think I I would definitely like to know more about the Devo situation and why he's asking for a trade, but I would definitely entertain the possibility.
Okay, I'm good with that. All right. Well, hey, so for anybody who's still watching, we hope that you have found this entertaining. Hopefully you like some of James' picks that he, went off the beaten path on. I thought that was cool. Um, yeah, play, name that stadium, answer our question of the week. If you liked it, hit that like button or the thumbs up, whatever platform you're on. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. So, James, like always, man, it was solid. Next week we're gonna not kick things off. Next week we're gonna continue this and do round two of our mock draft right before the NFL draft actually begins. So it was cool, man. I will catch you later, homie.
All right, have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.